This is Rob Tubbett for Boxing Social in association with Betfred. Delighted as always to be joined by Eddie Hearn. We're here at the Prograis Taylor Chisora Price weigh-in in London. How you doing, Ed?
Doing very well, all completed. Everybody on weight apart from Luke Blackledge. Actually, I think people don't realise of two other fights taking part tomorrow night, which is Luke Blackledge against Dennis Radovan and then Baru against John O'Donnell, which is a really good fight. Though they're between sort of 5 and 7. And then we kick off with Conor Benn, Lawrence Okoli for the Cruiserweight European title, Ricky Burns against Lee Selby, Chisora against Price, Prograis against Taylor. The best card of the year, unquestionably, and all heating up nicely, you know.
Make an interesting point there. My friends from Sauerland wouldn't forgive me if I didn't pick up on that with Dennis Radovan and Abbas Baru. Abbas Baru surprised me. I know he's been matched well throughout his career, but he's a 16-1 on favourite against John O'Donnell. Does that surprise you?
I think sometimes when you look at odds for a fight, the bookmaker just presumes that the home fighter is a standout favourite. I mean, we've seen a few times this year the away corner win at huge odds. One of that reasons is because of the job that the promoters does of talking their fighter up. So that's a really interesting fight. John O'Donnell, I was speaking to Tony Sims earlier. I nearly had him fight with us once for a title. Has been a bit hit and miss, but has always had. Lee will tell you. What? Come and talk up John O'Donnell.
John O'Donnell,
Drop it down a bit for you, Lee.
yeah, drop it right down, mate. No, John was a great fighter. Obviously, a few years ago, he's been out for a little while, but obviously former Commonwealth champion. He's ready to go.
He's always been rated by everyone in boxing, but just been a bit hit and miss over the year. But
hit and miss, lost a bit of heart. Used to love the pubs, but no, he's ready to go now. It's a good fight for him. If he wins this, then he's back in the mix. So it's good.
Thanks, Lee.
Thanks for a little cameo, Ed.
So I would have kept him in, but the size differential is too much when you're this close. Dennis Radovan's also training with Grant Smith. That was announced this week.
Well, I didn't even know that.
Very interesting link-up, yeah.
Basically, I saw Grant Smith and I thought, what are you doing here? And then realised that he's training Dennis Radovan. So that's an early fight. Get down 5 p.m. Get down there, because even before it really starts getting rocking and rolling, we got some great fights as well. But you know, the main card, like I said, I think one of the best fights. And you know what? Prograis Taylor, I can't wait, because I don't even represent either guy, but what I do know is it's going to be a fight of the year contender. Of course, Chisora Price is going to be epic. God knows what's going to happen in that fight. He's always up to something. I think he had something planned for me today, so I kept out of his way. So you know, it's all good, mate. All ready to go. Monster card.
You mentioned Derek Chisora. I haven't spoken to you about his kind of, I guess they called them digs in the last few days, aimed in your direction. Is that just a fight week thing with him, or is it just kind of par for the course?
Brilliant. I mean, we have such a good laugh together, me and Derek, and if I didn't know better from his Instagram post, I would say that we get on extremely well. So I don't know, like I see some people, I think he just loves to do things to cause reactions. Now I saw people saying to me, did you see Derek's Instagram post? And then after he posted it, like, I saw him at the weigh-in and he was all like, so I don't know. He probably does think I'm two-faced. I probably am a little bit two-faced. But I think you have to be as a promoter. I mean, you can't just be a real lovely guy who's just, you know, as a promoter, you have to duck and dive. So I'm trying to make sure that we do a deal with Derek, I'm doing a deal with David. He probably feels like, I don't know, does he feel like maybe I'm on Team Price? Because I've got a great relationship with David Price as well. To be honest, I really like and respect both men, and it's a bit of a shame that they're fighting, but it's on and it's happening, and I do not know what's going to happen, and someone's going to have to take it by the scruff of the neck and get this done, because what comes after is potentially huge fights in 2020. I mean, you think if David Price wins this fight, he could fill Anfield against Dillian White, against Usyk, against Parker in those kind of fights, you know. And then if Del Boy wins, he all of a sudden takes a standalone show with Parker on pay-per-view, or Usyk, or these kind of fights. So, you know, I think basically what they've both done is incredible to revive their career, and they've done it out of hard work, particularly Chisora. I know we joke about, you know, he's a bit crazy, but he's worked his nuts off, Derek Chisora. You know, and David Hayes got him in the gym, working. You've got to respect the man, because he puts it in time and time again. And he loves the sport, he loves to fight. And it's one thing loving to fight, but it's another thing putting the hard yards in the gym. And Del Boy's doing it day in, day out. You see it on his Instagram. He's living the life. And he's going to be very dangerous tomorrow night.
Raised a few eyebrows with some of his some of his comments at yesterday's press conference. I know you have commented on it, but obviously I've not spoken to you about it. Seemed to me very, very insensitive given the current climate.
Yeah, I mean, again, these things get flagged up when we have tragic incidents like Patrick Day. He doesn't mean that, he says it every fight. He's apologised, I believe, across social media anyway, and heat of the moment stuff. I just think Derek's trying to get himself rattled for this fight. I believe that he knows that when he's flat, he's not at his best. And it's sometimes difficult against David Price because he's such a nice guy, because he'll never give you anything back. And I think he did that a little bit to Dave Allen. Dave Allen's not the kind of guy that's going to lose his temper and start, head to head with someone. But I think that sometimes David Price can almost like, all right, mate you, if that makes sense. That's never been used before, all right, mate you. But, and I think Chisora just said to himself yesterday, I'm not going to let him all right, mate me. So, Dave, this is what I'm going to do. You're a sheep, lamb to the slaughter, and you're getting knocked out cold. The other stuff that he said, he shouldn't have said, he realises that, but that's just Derek Chisora, and, sometimes he says things in the heat of the moment.
You mentioned Dave Allen. I've not spoken to you about Dave. What's the situation with him currently?
Nothing. I think he's in a great place, to be honest with you. I mean, I had a really good time and chat with him in Newcastle last week. He understands the situation, and my advice was, look, I don't think you're physically and mentally in the right space to fight Dubois in December. If an offer comes in that you just literally can't refuse, this is prize fighting, this is boxing, I'm not going to be the one to stop you taking a fight, but I just feel for what's being offered and the fact that fight would be there in March or April anyway, wouldn't you be better off coming back with a fight, getting a good win, maybe winning a title? And then I said, what they're offering you now will be there for Dubois, will be there for Hrgovic, will be there for Povetkin, Hughie Fury, will be there for all those fights. So unless they want to give you an offer you can't refuse, keep working in the gym, come back in a fight, and then his value is going to keep increasing. So we just got to look after Dave Allen universally, because I think that it's a situation where he loves to fight. So right now his head is focused on fighting again. He's already messaged me, can I come back 6th round of this year, blah 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 blah. But he will also make poor decisions for his career. So that's why you have a manager, that's why you have a good close-knit team of people, friends, people who give you advice to make sure you make the right decision. And I think he has made the right decision, not fighting Dubois, certainly for that kind of money. And even whatever the money is, the fact is he couldn't beat Daniel Dubois right now. Maybe he can't beat him in March or April, but he can't win that fight. So what are you doing? You're just purely taking a fight for money. Wouldn't be the first time in boxing someone's done that. But, do you really want to go out like that? So, he'll fight, Dubois will fight someone else, and then if they want the Dave Allen fight, so they may offer that kind of money in March, and he may say, I'm ready now, let's go. Or he might get a title, get a good win, and have to pay him double what they offered him. So, again, Dave's not under contract with us, but I always feel like I have an obligation to try and look after him, and I'll always be there to give him advice, to give him fights, whatever he wants to do. But what I won't do is stop him from taking opportunities that he should be taking. But my advice on this occasion was that this is not the opportunity to take.
You have a personal relationship with Dave, which I do myself. Is there not an element of you? I mean, we saw him take a real beating against David Price. I was actually in Vegas, and the time difference meant so it was kind of the middle of the day when I saw his tweets that he put out, which were obviously very, very alarming and very concerning at the time. Is there not the personal aspect of you that is concerned for his health and well-being?
Yes, but I think that boxing sometimes is good for Dave Allen in the right way. The training is great for Dave Allen. Being around the sport, coaching individuals is great for him. When you say you have a personal relationship with him, I like Dave Allen. It's not my job to hold his hand and look after him. I will be here as much as I can in my life and schedule for a guy who isn't under contract with us, but I do have, I care about, because I like him. He's a nice bloke. We don't talk every day, we talk very occasionally, but I feel as though I have an obligation to make sure that he's okay. That's just how I feel about it. So I said to him that until you're mentally and physically ready to fight, let's remember, he turned down a 6-round contest in Newcastle. He didn't feel like he was up for a 6-round contest. You can't fight 6 weeks later Daniel Dubois. It doesn't work out that way. So, a lot of these fighters, There's so many fighters out there, and so many fighters that we represent as well. It's impossible. You've always got to look after yourself. That's the number one thing. And fighters have to understand that as well. The team has to look after you as well. But I can't hold the hands of these fighters every day of the week. It's a bit like Fitzy, Madman. I said to him the other day, I want to come up there and live with you and make sure you do everything right, train, blah, blah, blah. But obviously I can't do that. And I would love to do that with some fighters because I love the sport and I love to be around fighters because they're great people. But, you have to take responsibility for yourself sometimes. But the team of people around you have got to push you every day, help you. And that's sometimes the sort of unsung heroes you don't see in a team. The trainer that goes around and says, right up you get, oh no, right up you get, what are you eating there, and making sure, because it's a tough sport, very tough to stay disciplined in this sport, out there doing your 10-mile runs, hill sprints, and you're sparring, and you've been told you can only eat this. I mean, it's a regimental lifestyle, but the regimental lifestyle, which we've seen is so good for so many fighters, is really good for Dave Allen as well, and he needs that in his life.
Joshua Buatsi woke up to a tweet today that he's now no longer going to be boxing on November the 2nd. What's the situation there?
So we found out earlier this week that he was ill. He's been trying to train, couldn't train, some kind of viral infection. Spoke to the training team and they said, look, the last 2 weeks he just hasn't been able to train. And you can't go into a fight. We know how dangerous this sport is, even at 100%. And Josh is a complete perfectionist. He wouldn't enter the ring if he wasn't. It's always difficult to be 100%, but if he didn't feel like he was very well prepared for a fight like this, he hasn't worked so hard in his career to enter a fight like that against a tough fighter in Caparello to give it all away. So he's going to have a few weeks off, and then we'll reschedule that fight. That's a fight that I want to make, and I'll make sure that the Caparello fight takes place. Again, depending on how long he needs for medicine, antibiotics, etc. Might be early next year now, but there's no point just putting in a flat performance or losing for the sake of a couple of months. So Martin Bakole will replace him in a 10-round heavyweight fight, and we're looking at a number of opponents for him in a proper fight. He needs a proper fight now, Martin Bakole, and he will be in it next Saturday at Manchester Arena.
What kind of names? Throw some names at me.
Just the usual squad, really. Guys who you look at, again, could be like an Eric Molina.
Can he box in this country?
No, good point, but I'm talking about names like that. His band's actually up. Oh, it's up. End of October. Yeah, so he could, but he's not going to be in. But those kind of levels, the same kind of guys that the Chaz Witherspoons of this world and the Joey DeWeckos and like those kind of guys who, are ready. They stay ready for opportunities, and there's half a dozen of them or so. But it's not easy matching someone against Bakole because he's very dangerous. And he's going to be a big threat to the division.
Just mentioning Josh Buatsi, I caught up with Anthony Yarde a couple of days ago. First time I've seen him since the Sergei Kovalev fight. That's a fight that's been spoken about with him and Josh Buatsi. I asked Mr. Yarde if he's going to be making any changes to his team, as it were. He was kind of evasive, as it were. A lot of rumours on the street saying that potentially you're interested in signing Anthony Yarde. Any truth in that?
Well, I'm definitely interested in signing Anthony Yarde. But I've not had any conversations with any member of his team, management, agents. As far as I know, he's under contract, and we had not spoken to him and wouldn't speak to him until he was a free agent. So, no, again, very good fighter, great profile right now. He's a guy that all of a sudden has become a strong name in British boxing. So he's going to be on a lot of money for his next fight. It's going to be headlining somewhere. And, the Joshua Buatsi fight, is such a great fight with Anthony Yarde. And I would love it to be for a world title, but sometimes that's not possible. So I would be interested in doing that fight next year. That is a massive O2 fight. I believe it's a pay-per-view fight, actually, given a couple more wins from each guy. And I just think it's a great fight.
Callum Johnson, Andy Purow from Boxing Social caught up with Callum Johnson a couple of days ago. He said that him and Josh Buatsi will fight
Another
soon.
Great fight, yeah.
Could we see two of those three fighting each other anytime soon?
Yeah, love to. I mean, again, Callum Johnson against Anthony Yarde, Callum Johnson against Joshua Buatsi, all great fights. Callum Johnson's a massively underrated fighter. Let's not forget, if he would have probably been a bit more experienced and had a slightly different mindset, he could have beaten Beterbiev that night. I mean, Beterbiev was shook to his boots by that left hook. He's down on the thing, and Callum really let him off. Easy for us to say when you're in there with a guy who can. He was, he wasn't gone. He was still dangerous. So. And, his win over Shawnee Monahan was a great win. been unlucky with a little shoulder injury. He'll be back in 2020, but he's right up there, you know, domestically and on a world level. So Callum Johnson is great to watch, as is Joshua Buatsi, as is Anthony Yarde. You know, and you've also got the MTK Golden Tournament coming up for the light heavyweight division. So the winner of that is going to come out and be right in the mix. Craig Richards also in the mix, you know, for those big fights, and now world top 15 as well. So good time for the 175 pounders.
Just final question, Anthony Joshua, Andy Ruiz undercard, obviously with the Michael Hunter, Alexander Povetkin fight, it's been not formally announced, you said about it the other day, but yeah, it's done. Any further additions to that card? Obviously John O'Carroll, Scott Quigg, is there any more?
There will be, yeah, there's probably going to be 4 championship bouts plus Joshua plus 1 or 2 others. So you've got 2 of them now, and Hrgovic is likely to be in another one. And yeah, I mean, Povetkin Hunter's a brilliant fight, as is Scott Quigg against John O'Carroll. It's just one of those ones where I was just sitting there one day, and obviously Scott Quigg's back from injury. I was looking at the division, I was like, John O'Carroll? Yeah, and spoke to MTK, spoke to Scott Quigg, yeah. You know, they're both in that position where they want to fight for world titles. John O has, and obviously Scott's a former world champion. So let them fight, and the winner's going to go on and be a real threat to the division. The loser probably has to return to the domestic scene.
Where do we stand with visas?
In terms of
fans and media, actually.
Yeah, fans are able to get their visas. Many, you know, they have. I've asked for a little bit of clarification from the GSA on visas. I think they've done about 8,000 tickets so far. Around 5,000 Brits of that 8,000. Not all from the UK. Some from Dubai and expats and stuff like that, but a huge proportion of those. And again, the media accreditation, once the accreditation's aligned, I don't think has a pass because it's very busy, but other outlets who do have access to the tournament and the event will get their visas in time.
Oh, well, thanks, Eddie. Well, no, not thank you.
No, we will make sure that Boxing Social get a pass to the London showing of the fight.
Thanks very much. It's very kind of you. Do you kind of regret the initial press conference where you said, you know, you made out that it was very easy, that a visa would be supplied with your ticket? It turns out it's not quite the case.
That was the message given from GSA. So I think, unfortunately, I don't work for the government in Saudi, and I can't change visa situations. But it, you know, what they said was that you will receive a visa with your ticket. You will receive a visa, but the process is a little bit more difficult than it sounded. But I'm asking them for clarification, and you know, again, I can't talk to the government and the tourism department in Saudi and say, all right, mate, listen, yeah, can you make it a little bit easier on the old visas, Gov? You know, change it round, or even have someone at the old gates giving it the, you know, so.
Okay, we look forward to further announcements. Eddie Hearn, thanks very much for speaking to Boxing Social.
Cheers, mate.